Well, welcome all of you NewGate about to be graduates here on the Tuesday webinar. Thank you for taking the time today to join us. Parents all over the country would love to hear from you and hear about your experiences in a Montessori high school.
So I'm Isabella, and I've been here for 1 year. This is my senior year in high school, and I started NewGate in the beginning of this year.
Great, thanks Isabella. Somebody else?
My name is Tiana, and I actually started NewGate when I was a preschooler for about 3 to 4 years, and then I went to public elementary and middle school and came back for my 4 high school years.
Beautiful, thanks.
I'm Merritt, and this is my first year at NewGate.
Great, but you went to other Montessori schools, didn't you?
I did. I went to a Montessori high school in Cleveland, Ohio. I was a boarding student there for about 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Raj. This is my 5th year here. I started in 7th grade.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I've been here since kindergarten, and yeah, been here my entire life, so pretty cool.
All right. What, from maybe each of you, if you would like to answer this one, what has been your most important takeaway from your Montessori experience, whether your Montessori experience has been 1 year or whether your Montessori experience has been closer to 12 years? Okay, so what's your most important takeaway from your Montessori experience?
I'd say that my most important Montessori experience so far, as coming here, I've spent a lot of time at NewGate, not necessarily going to school here, but my family's worked here. But from my experience actually going to school here, I didn't necessarily think that I would make friends with certain people, but coming to NewGate where it's more close-knit, I made a lot of friends with people that I wouldn't necessarily have been friends with if I had gone to a bigger school.
Okay. So the most important takeaway for you, Isabella, then is friendships.
Yeah.
And sort of the openness to be able to make those friendships.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sort of adding to that, I think the most important takeaway for me are the relationships I've made here. I don't remember much when I was in preschool, but for my high school years, I've made very close friendships, but more specifically, relationships with the teachers. A lot of the teaching is very one-on-one, and I feel like the teachers really try to get to know each student individually and to help them and support them academically.
Add on to that, being here since kindergarten, I've known people since 2nd grade until now, and I've developed really deep relationships with them, and I'm really grateful for that. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think that one of the things that we should just mention, or I should just mention, is that these students are talking about their specific NewGate experiences, but I really think that you will find that in any Montessori school, including Montessori high schools, the students are going to experience very similar kinds of things because of the Montessori philosophy and methodology. So even though they're speaking specifically about NewGate, I think if you're a parent watching in Kalamazoo and your child, and you're thinking about your child going to Montessori, you're going to find that they will experience many similar kinds of things. So thanks, everybody. The next question is specifically about friendship, and it is friendship is a very important aspect of growing up. Many parents and students worry that in a small Montessori high school, there aren't enough opportunities for close and lasting friendships. What do you think about that? And is there a difference between social interaction and actual deep friendships? Brandon, you sort of mentioned that in just now when you were talking. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I mean, compared to my NewGate relationships versus my public school friends that I met throughout being on sports teams and everything, I would say my NewGate relationships are deeper. Yeah, it's crazy to think about because I've known them like my entire life. I care about these people. They're like day ones to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but
Okay.
yeah, you develop really deep relationships with these people.
Yeah. So when I say what's the difference, or is there a difference between social relationships and actual deep friendships, I'm sort of meaning that, you know, parents worry that if there aren't sports teams, if there aren't proms or, you know, big sort of social occasions that they have in traditional schools, somehow their kids are going to be missing out. Do you feel like you've missed out, or do you feel like you've been able to make all of that work for you?
I don't feel like I missed out at all, to be honest with you. I feel like I've made some memories that I will remember for the rest of my life by going to this school and making friends with these people. Yeah, I don't think I missed out at all, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think public schools often offer things like proms and football games that NewGate doesn't necessarily have. But NewGate also has many events that public schools don't have. For example, in the beginning of the year, usually we do some sort of retreat or kind of bonding exercise where kids kind of get to re-know each other, reconnect. And even throughout the year, there are different events that bring not just the students, but also the families and faculty together. And you don't see that as much in public school. And then also, because NewGate specifically is smaller, the class sizes are smaller, so you're still getting social interaction, even just being in classes.
Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I feel like throughout the years, I don't think I've missed out on any friendships. I feel like it's been, I think, a really good experience. It may be a little different than public schools, but I feel like it's like it's just a different experience. Not any better, not any worse. It's just a different experience, and I think I liked it. I liked it. It was good. It was good. I like the friendships I made. I hope to keep them for the years to come.
Thanks, Raj. Anybody else?
So coming from a very big public school, I had a lot of friends in my public school, and it was really easy to make friends, but at the same time, there's so many different friend groups. There's a lot of different people, and people kind of just stick together. So it can also be hard. There's a lot of stereotypes, and since classes are so big, it can be hard to even feel connected to even half of your graduating class. So here at NewGate, there's 5 total of us graduating, and I feel like I'm pretty close to all of the people here now. So I think it's a blessing that I came here.
So even though sometimes being in a large group of people, a couple thousand, you still really only have a small group of people who you're really close to and really bond with. Is that kind of what you were saying, Isabella?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's
think,
go. Yes, sorry.
I was just going to say, I just think as a whole, Montessori places a lot of emphasis on collaboration. So since you have these small class sizes, you can really have in-depth discussions with your classmates. You can work together on big projects. So I think even though you don't have those big social components, you spend a lot of time together just throughout your day working together on your education, but also just outside of school. So I think that's a way that Montessori helps build these close relationships without having, a bunch of different social events.
Mm-hmm. So I think what I hear you saying, Merritt, is that the collaborative atmosphere, the collaborative atmosphere in a Montessori school allows for a lot of social interaction during the school day. Whereas in a more traditional classroom, and some of you that have gone to traditional school can comment on this, in a more traditional classroom, you really don't get to interact with your fellow students during class time very much. It's more teacher directed and less collaborative projects and works and things like that. Anybody want to comment on that?
I would say it depends, but most of the time the teacher is kind of trying to control the class due to the fact that the class sizes are so much bigger. There's going to be like 30 to 40 kids in a class at a time versus here when I think the most kids I have in a class is about 15. So it's a lot different. There's a lot more emphasis put on group projects and working together on things. And that still does happen a lot in public schools, but I think during class, not so much because the teacher is really trying to focus on getting the kids under control, keeping them quiet, and trying to get them to learn since the classes are so much bigger.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's go on to a new question. And this one is, how has your Montessori education prepared you for life after high school?
So I think Montessori is all about like being independent and being able to manage your independence. So I think since teachers put a lot of trust in you, they're not policing you. They're like, this is your work, do it by this time, but I'm not going to, you know, make you do it. You're going to need to make yourself do it. And I think that's a really valuable skill for later in life, because there's not going to be someone telling you, oh, you have to do this, oh, you have to do that. It's just going to have to be you being responsible for yourself and managing that independence you're given. So I think that's how Montessori prepares you for later in life.
Okay, so making your own decisions and being independent about choices and decisions. Anybody want to either add to that or maybe cite some other way that Montessori prepares you for life after high school?
I think it helped me become more open-minded, like to solve problems. It taught me to solve problems more than just one way. Yeah, to become more open-minded. I like how it taught me to manage my time like more efficiently. Even from a young age, from first grade, they give us like work we have to accomplish, and like they don't tell us like when we have to like complete it. It's like up to us, and up from first grade until now. I think that trait or that skill has really developed over the years. So yeah, to add on from what Meredith is saying, I think it has really helped us become more independent. To help us like manage our time better. And for me, it helped me become more open-minded, and just I like to think about stuff more before I do it.
So a little bit more thinking outside of the box,
For sure.
as I say. Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can go.
You can go. No, go.
Okay. I just wanted to say that a lot of times, especially in the middle and high school years at NewGate, each student gives several presentations throughout the year. So for example, we actually just got finished presenting internship presentations, and we presented those to our whole class. And I think before I came to NewGate, I was very shy. I was a very quiet person, and I didn't really present much, let alone to my whole class. But I think those oral presentations that occur several times throughout the year for each student help with social skills, presentation skills, and you really need those a lot of times in the workplace. So that's another thing that I would take away.
Thank you. Raj, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I like how the teachers here, they're not kind of like, they don't really hold your hand, like but I like that kind of independence that they give you. You're not gonna be held, your hand's not gonna be held in college. The professor's gonna give you your work, and you're expected to do it, or you don't want to do it, and that's fine. That's not their problem. But I like how kind of the Montessori, they kind of teach you that earlier instead of kind of helping you all the time and like kind of pushing you along. They kind of set you off, and I like that.
Okay, let's go to the next one. You know, it's important in Montessori education to understand or to recognize what are the core values of this kind of a program. And so I'm wondering if during your time here, long or short, have you really thought about what the core values of a Montessori school, and it could be NewGate or other Montessori schools, what are the values of this school, maybe as compared to other schools, or just what are the values of this school?
Well, I would say that one of the main differences that I've seen is that here they really want to teach you the material, not just to get you to finish the course and to have you take a test at the end of the year, which is very different from going to public school because, yes, you learn a lot, but they are also only teaching you the material that's required for you to take the test. And here I really think that they go above and beyond and teach you extra facts and knowledge that can really benefit us in the future.
Okay, so I'm thinking that one of the values of this school then and other Montessori schools is for students to really learn about and understand things rather than just work to get a grade, memorize to get a grade, or pass a test. Is that kind of what you were saying, Isabella? Merritt?
Oh, I just think service and, being a part of a community is a really big part of Montessori. It's, I think, one of the fundamental principles, because Montessori is not just about learning in the classroom, but taking that knowledge and applying it, other places. So at Montessori High School, every month we do a service day where instead of classes, we go out around the community and do different service projects. And even here at NewGate, in terms of getting involved with the community, as Tiana said, we just did our internships, and that's a really cool thing that I don't think a lot of schools offer. That kind of helps us get out of the classroom and go experience the world and, become contributing members to society.
So maybe in part what you're saying, Merritt, is that it's a more global approach, a more community-oriented approach, and even further out.
Yes.
As you say. That about cover that?
Because especially at the boarding school where I was going, there were a lot of international students. So I was friends with people from Peru or Egypt or Mexico. So I think Montessori in general kind of appeals internationally and works to make globally minded students.
To add on to what Mara was saying, I think community is very important, like, as a core value to like NewGate or all Montessori schools in general, because to me, I feel like NewGate welcomes everyone from all walks of life. And just everyone cares about each other. Like Mary and Chan were saying, the teachers, like, they care about you as a person. They don't look at you as like a student, but as a person. They care about you. They want to see you succeed. I love how all the families are involved in Montessori. Like, we get to know like everyone from preschool up to 12th grade. Like, I love the fact that we interact with students from all different ages. It puts an interesting perspective on things because you get to see like what I guess like young minds. Because I have a little sister. I have like one brother and 3 sisters, and it's interesting to see how all these ages interact with each other and how they grow into like I want to say a great mind, but it's just interesting to interact with all these different ages and learn from all these different families. And
so it's that whole idea of being inclusive. And also, I think part of what you were saying was also the idea of kind of understanding different people. You're talking about different ages of people, understanding people of different ages, different experience, different skill bases, and how do you interact with all of those people?
For sure. It's a whole learning experience for me. It's just really cool to see how different ages interact with each other, and you can learn from that. Even with the older people, I learn something every day from NewGate, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I would say that here at NewGate or just any Montessori school, I think that they emphasize friendship and including people and not excluding anyone and making the environment to learn a very safe and healthy environment. So here there's not really any fighting going on, any bullying. I feel like very safe here, and I feel that a lot of kids here too feel like that as well. And if you were to go to some of the other bigger schools, you see that there's a lot of different dynamics in those schools. There's sometimes fighting and things that aren't always so safe. So I think here it's a more relaxed environment and a safer environment too.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the next question. How would you describe your relationships with teachers and other staff members in a Montessori school? Somebody earlier on mentioned, I think it was Tiana, mentioned relationships with faculty. And there are other people on staff as well, receptionists, maintenance people. There's all kinds of people, of course, at a school to make it run. How would you describe the relationship between students and the other people here that support you?
I would say here it's very one-on-one versus a bigger school. There's a lot more connections to be made with your teachers. It's very easy if you're having a problem to go and talk to your teacher right after class, whereas in a bigger school, it's very hard to do that. It might even take a week or so to even just contact your teacher to get some extra help. So here, if I need any help, I can just ask a teacher right after class or even during class and have that help right away, which is very nice. And if some of the kids have any problems that parents need to address with their teachers, it's very easy for parents to come in contact with their teachers, and they're able to come into the school and talk to the teachers. Whereas in a bigger school, sometimes my parents didn't even meet half of my teachers in my 3 years of going to a different high school. So it's a very different environment, but I think that here, the closer relationships are a lot better for a better education.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think me personally, I've only been here for a few years, but I have developed very close relationships with most, if not all, of my teachers. They know my grades, but they also know me and they know my family, and they take time to maybe ask about what you did over the weekend, stuff like that. And if you need help, like Isabella said, they're always there to help you. Even if you ask a million questions, they're always there, they're always patient. I've texted a few of my teachers if I really need help over the weekend, and they're always there for you. And I think it's harder for that connection to be developed in public schools just because one teacher could see 100 students, 200 students every day, and it's hard to even learn that many names, let alone get to know that student. So here I think there's room for lasting relationships with teachers to really develop.
Yeah. Do you think, any of you, do you think that that teachers are seen in a different way in different types of schools? In other words, do you think of your teachers as being, oh, you're going to laugh, an authority, you know, or do you think of them more as maybe a partner or a guide or something like that? So anybody want to talk to that piece?
Yeah, they are more of like a guide, and they're like a more of a teacher instead of like authority. They actually I feel like they care more at Montessori schools because they want you to succeed. They want you to go. They want you to have a good life. They're not just there to teach you something and then you leave. Like, they're more like friends. Like, you have a better relationship with them than almost any kind of school I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also they don't act like authority figures. If you're doing something wrong, like if you have your cell phone out, for example, they won't necessarily just take it away from you right away. They might talk to you, like say, well, it's a policy, we don't really have our phones out, this is a learning environment. Instead of just kind of going straight to a punishment, there's a room for conversation to explain kind of maybe why you're doing something wrong instead of just punishing the student.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, due to the bigger classroom sizes in other schools, I think that they really need to emphasize the authority in those classrooms because there are so many kids. It's harder to handle like 30, 40 kids in a classroom versus here, which we have like smaller amounts of people. But I do think that it's better to have these smaller amounts of students in classrooms because it allows for longer lasting, developing relationships with our teachers, and they aren't really seen as authority figures here at NewGate.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we get to know our teachers like as like who they are rather than as like as just a teacher, like Roger was saying, a guide, and we get to know them like personally. We get to have like normal talks with them and learn about them. I really like that fact. Like with some of my teachers, I get to like talk about what they did over the weekend and like what they like to do and their hobbies. And sometimes we click and we talk about our hobbies together. And yeah, I think that's really cool. Rather than like what Isabella is saying, the teachers at public schools, they just want to teach you and that's it. Just here's this and this, learn this and this, get this grade and you're good. But our teachers here, they actually care about you. They want to learn about you. They want to know you as a person. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. This is one for those of you that have come from other schools. How has your Montessori experience been different? And we've talked a little bit about that, but not so much about you and your experience. What were you, and also think about what were you looking for when you changed from whatever school you were at to this school? And thirdly, this is a three-parter. Thirdly, was it your choice to change schools? Or was it your parents that said you have to change schools? Or did you have a discussion about changing schools with your parents? I mean, how did that come about? So Brandon, you'll have to sit this conversation out since you didn't change schools, but others of you did for different reasons, okay? So can you talk about that a little bit?
So I was kind of in a gifted, so to speak, classroom all throughout elementary and middle school. And then when I went to high school, I was kind of thrown back in the mix. And there were thousands of just freshmen. And that was something really new for me. I wasn't used to seeing 20 new faces every single class I had. And so I was really unhappy. And actually, I kind of knew I was unhappy, but my parents were the ones that noticed it more. And they observed how I just really didn't look forward to going to school. And so they actually brought up the idea of, since I went to preschool here, of maybe checking it out, checking the high school out. And I toured and I really liked it. And I think, honestly, moving from the public high school to NewGate was one of the best decisions of my life so far, because it just changed me as a person completely, academically, socially, my confidence levels. So it was kind of a mutual decision between my parents and I, and I'm really glad I made this switch.
Thank you. Let's see.
So,
Yeah,
sorry.
Isabella.
I came this year, as I said before. It was my decision to come. Last year, I had gotten pretty sick for about like a month, and my classes, I was really struggling with my classes because it was very hard to connect with my teachers because I wasn't at school. And since the school is so big, they had so many other students to worry about. So I was kind of stuck in this position. I don't know what to do. So I thought that coming to a smaller school would be a lot better for me so I could really connect with my teachers and get my work done for my senior year. And I honestly think that it was a really good decision for me to come here this year because the work ethics here are so much different than in big public schools. If you were to go into like a big lunchroom in a public school, no one would be doing any work. They're all sitting there, talking on their phones, which is fine. But here at NewGate, everyone's doing their work constantly, focusing on getting their studies done. And I think that I've really improved my grades from that as well.
Raj, you came from another school, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, I was.
Remember how that all kind of came down? Who was thinking about it? Were you thinking about changing schools, or your parents, or what?
In 7th grade, I wasn't having really the best experience on my previous school. I felt like more like just a number instead of an actual student, and I wasn't performing too well either. And so I kind of went to my parents and like, hey, I think I need to change schools. I don't think the school's working out for me anymore because at my previous school, I've been there since from the start to 7th grade. So I just think a change needed to happen, and I just feel like my parents had a good idea because when I first started schooling, they actually came to NewGate first, but they kind of got swayed into like a different school, which is my previous school for unknown reasons. And they kind of just thought about NewGate once again, and we came to Tim, and I just felt welcome. Just the whole entire experience was just, it felt warm. Like I didn't feel like just a number anymore. I felt like included into the community, and I liked that. Yeah.
Thank you. Merritt, you came to NewGate, I think, because your family moved. Is that true?
No, I actually came to Newgate because the school I had been attending had financial problems,
Oh,
so it shut down last year.
oh,
So that's how I ended up in Newgate. So it wasn't really a choice, but I did have a lot of different options after school shut down. I was gonna either do like an early college program, or I was just going to try and take online classes. But I think coming to Newgate was a really smart decision because a lot of my friends who did go into those programs say they wish they could have continued Montessori on till the end because they really did enjoy their experience. So I think I'm really lucky to have been able to come to Newgate and meet all these people and connect with my teachers, because Montessori, I think, has the same principles and has the same openness wherever you are, be it in Cleveland or in Sarasota.
what has it been like to be in classes with younger and older peers? Now, Brandon mentioned that, but I mean more specifically, he mentioned, you know, the ages all the way down to the little ones. But I think I'm talking more specifically about, I'm thinking that some of your high school classes have different age level people in those classrooms. Is that true?
Yeah, so for the secondary program at NewGate, the middle school and high school have 2 grades together, and we're divided into cycles. So I don't know, for those of you that don't know, so our first cycle are the 7th and 8th graders, second cycle are the 9th and 10th, and then third cycle are the 11th and 12th. And I personally really like this. I think when I was the younger grade in the cycle, I really looked up to my older peers because maybe they were taking exams that I would one day have to take, and they would help me with study tips. Just talking to someone who is going through the experiences that you'll one day have to go through is really helpful. And then now on the other end of the spectrum, being the older grade in that cycle, it's really a nice feeling to help the grade under you out and give them the tips and give them advice, things maybe you wish you would have done, or just tips in general. So I think the joining of the grades is really good, and I think it really enforces the Montessori idea and that sense of community and helping each other out.
How has Montessori supported your ability to be autonomous and independent?
Yeah, I think NewGate and Montessori really allows the students to kind of direct their education in a sense. I mean, because it's such a small school, there's not necessarily a large number of classes to pick from. But if you maybe want to take an online class, they're very flexible about that in helping you kind of build your education. And similarly, we don't have too many clubs or sport teams, but if you have an idea for what we call a studio, which is basically an extracurricular activity, you can propose that idea and actually create your own studio. And then also, we have morning meetings and sometimes community meetings where everyone, all the staff, all the students come together and pitch ideas or just kind of give announcements. And that gives students a lot of options to give their own feedback and have a voice.
Definitely don't feel like I had to fit in at this school, but I definitely think this school has taught me to care more about not just this community, but like the whole environment. Like it taught me how to like volunteer to help like my whole living area, like the whole environment, like just Sarasota in general. It taught me to be independent, not just with my schoolwork, but with everything else. Taught me to set goals for myself. and just to be an all-around positive person. And I think Montessori has taught me to really care about just all aspects of life. And I've learned a bunch of traits that I would take on for my next journey after high school.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank everybody who's out there listening to us. I wish all of you well in all that you do. We're very proud of you here at NewGate as part of the community. We're proud of each and every one of you. So thanks for joining me today. Good luck with the rest of your final exams, and we'll talk to you again later.